This computer. Hello, Tony. Um, so I thought we would start maybe with Tinfoil Hat because it's the song people actually might have a history with here, or the song I have most history with. You made some. Okay. Let's start just generally. What was the impetus? Was there something that inspired writing Tinfoil Hat?
Hmm. Yes. Two things. One, I wanted to do something that had French in it.
Okay.
And I was kind of limited to my own ability as a musician as to how, and a writer, as to how I built the song.
Mm,
So I just kind of let it come to me naturally. And it was really one of those ones that writes itself in just a few minutes.
okay.
Once I kind of had the second ideas about what it was. So the tinfoil hat, obviously, that's a pretty popular uh, icon and has a lot of connotation. And I appreciate the angle of having some kind of imaginary protection against, what are likely imaginary evils. And so I think that was kind of what it was. It's on the innocent side, I would say.
Okay, all right. So it doesn't actually come from an interest in conspiracy theory, or it begins with French. I never would have guessed that that was the impetus. That's brilliant. That's really fun.
Well,
Um,
you see, the thing is that I already got one. Ready at the beginning of the. I got my own tinfoil hat, so none of that stuff really is material or any longer, even if it did pre-exist, because I am protected, and those around me, stand a good chance of also being protected because I have a supply.
all right. What is the actual like? I don't know. All I know is the pop cultural reference to like wearing it to protect from beams or whatnot. But where does that come from? What's the purpose of a tinfoil hat in the?
I looked it up once. I think it's about microwaves
Okay.
and feeling that there was some way of deflecting those microwaves with this hat. And then it became, other things, radio waves, perhaps, all
Right.
kinds of stuff, because it was all imaginary to begin with. It was like complete speculation. I don't think there was ever any kind of special test until the question came up as to whether something like a tinfoil over your head would protect you from everything or anything.
Right.
But certainly, scientists did study it and had minimal findings, which is understandable, right? I mean, there's always something, even if it doesn't hold water,
Even if it does boil water?
even if it doesn't hold water.
Hold water. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Right, right. Yeah. So chapeau de papier de lumino is actually tinfoil hat in French.
Chapeau de papier d'aluminium. Aluminium. I think in French it's aluminium.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was like referring to, I don't, my French is almost
Papier d'aluminium.
non-existent. So,
I have a difficulty saying that, even me, who, so I kind of anglicized it in a way, just naturally to aluminum.
okay. All right. All
That's
right.
not exactly correct. It's just like mispronouncing something.
Okay, all right. I actually thought you were it was something about illumination, like the shiny light reflecting quality of tinfoil. So interesting.
Not
Okay, cool.
exactly, but we'll all have our own reading, and that's the beauty of poetry. There, you could take what you care from it, and if it's a bit in another language, there will be someone that speaks that language that does understand it, and maybe it's a bit of a joke for them.
Okay. There is a je suis something. There are parts of it not speaking French. I didn't understand. Can you tell us a bit more about the French
Was
portion?
pretty early on in writing French stuff. So I kind of just reiterated in French what I'd already said in English,
Okay.
that I was better at dancing, you know.
Okay. All right. Why were you learning French? Was there a particular reason?
I started learning French when I was 6.
Right.
Then in my second grade, I learned the same French again because they kept advancing the year at which people would begin learning French in British Columbia.
Uh,
So every year up to like grade 5, I got the same French course. So I know La Fenêtre, La Porte,
yeah.
a lot of French words are
Right.
just natural to me. And we see it every day on our products in the drawer, you
Right.
know, like, you know, cling wrap,
Tinfoil.
pedicure, all kinds of stuff, that we're just really familiar with as Canadians.
Hmm.
So I thought it would be a nice way to kind of just be more inclusive about Canada and maybe be a little bit mysterious.
Okay. All right. Let me ask about a couple of changes you make between the pointed six version and your version. These may not be significant, they may not even be deliberate, but I'm always curious about different variations. The pointed six version begins with I, and the smoke version begins with we. So is there a
Just a bit of fine tuning. I'm trying to be more inclusive and, maybe you might even notice trying to use less specific pronouns.
okay, interesting.
I'm not 100% with that, and I do tend to change it even in practice. I see my bandmates, they always notice when I sing a different line, which kind of surprises me, but I do it a lot, and I forget my own words. I sometimes I make stuff up, or I definitely mix up lines from one verse to another. So you
Okay.
never really know exactly what you're going to get.
I like the fine tuning. That's fun though. That's deliberate. Okay, so another variant. I love in the pointed sticks version. If I were to pick my favorite image on that whole pointed sticks album, there's some songs I really like on that album. Sune's song I think is really fun. There's some great songs on that album, but my favorite image, my favorite single line is about being an alphabet reducer, which I connect on the one hand with being a sonic producer, and on the other hand, I connect with slurred speech, right? Like you've reduced the amount of sounds you're going to make, which of course associates with intoxication, or I mean, it's more relevant to me now, even still. um, but where did the idea of an alphabet reducer come from?
Honestly, it was just a mistake. Like I said, I forget my lines or I mix things up.
Mhm.
And I just sang it that way in the studio on the day. It always was, I'm an alpha reducer.
Alpha reducer. Okay, so that makes sense because that puns off being a gamma romancer. Alpha and gamma relate
Exactly.
to each other. Okay.
That was the original context.
Okay. All right. So
I got in there and thought, okay, let's just do it. Of course I had to ham it up a bit, so I changed things.
and being a gamma romancer puns on being a glamour romantic, I think is the image. There's a bit of a
Yeah, I just thought it was fun wordplay.
it is fun. Okay. Microwave diffuser, all right. Let's see. Um, another one, the distinction between conscientiously objecting and conscientiously objectionable, which is hilarious. Was that deliberate or?
Yeah, I think that pair of lines, might have had some evolution a little bit, but I think it's kind of ended up as conscientiously objectionable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk conspiracy or whatnot. Conspiracy is a very odd phenomenon. I mean, pre-Trump, it was really fun and entertaining to indulge in conspiracy theory, but I've actually seen people say that they don't like conspiracy theory now because it's been weaponized and it's dangerous and we can't entertain ourselves with these weird thoughts anymore. If there's anything you wanted to say about conspiracy theory, do you read conspiracy theory? Are you entertained by, like, have you read David Icke or like stuff like this, or are you kind of not into that?
And I gotta say, unless it's a really huge thing
Mhm.
that's being managed by a very small few, and I mean like huge, I just don't believe it. There isn't the time for it. And certainly there are always little ad hoc groups of people that's maybe specialize and in it, try to discover things. And there might even be the odd thing that gets turned up and it kind of fuels that fire.
Mhm.
I think as long as it's fun and there's, the tongue is at least somewhere near the cheek, um, then, I think it's okay. But I certainly don't follow any of it. I don't buy it. When people lie to me on the television, it's fairly evident. And, you
Right.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, myself as well, but I could see the song being kind of a playful anthem for people who have a taste for that kind of thing. It's quite lovable. Okay, all right. Are there other songs on the Smoke First Offense that evolve from the Pointed Sticks or relate to the Pointed Sticks directly, or were they all written specifically as solo things?
mm, no, I think the only real constant is my animals, but there are a lot of concurrent themes and nothing there are no pointed stick stories or anything in there or
Okay. Tell me about your animals. You have a cat, a dog?
well, at the time of writing, I had a dog and a cat, and we spent a lot of time together, all walking together as a little family.
Mm,
And, there would be some singing involved.
okay. All right.
I think that's partly where some of the jaunty kind of neo cabaret material kind of originated because it was sort of an easy rap to keep going over a long period at a time.
Okay. So like entertaining the animals and entertaining yourself on walks and things.
Yeah, I
Ah,
sup- yeah, exactly. Maybe a little bit of singing practice.
singing practice.
It's nice out in the open when no one's around. You can really let loose.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. This is around Gibson's we're talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, do I assume like some of the musicians I think live up there? I think Barry Taylor lives in Gibson's. Does Suzanne Richter live up there? Are they all Gibson's people?
Not exactly Gibson's, but fairly near. Barry's in Davis Bay. I'm in Gibson's, Ray's in Roberts Creek. Um, it's not all Gibson's.
No,
Gibson's
all
really
right.
just a weeny little town, and then it carries on other little weeny towns.
Okay, it's charming though. I like Gibson's. It's fun. Okay. Tell me about the relationship of Slowpoke and the smoke. And I'm actually not 100% clear what you're doing because you went on the gig posters from being the smoke to Slowpoke and the smoke, which I think was for brand recognition and search engine optimization purposes. Because if people Google the smoke, they're not going to find you. But the album is still credited as being by The Smoke, and the title is First Offense, which suggests that it's a first project for a new band. So where are you on that? What are you thinking? Are you going to be continuing to do this as Slowpoke and the Smoke? What's the difference between Slowpoke and the Smoke and the Smoke? Why the Smoke? Why Slowpoke? Anything about the name and the relationship of the projects?
When it first came up to do the original music, some time ago, the guys weren't into it. We thought that Slowpoke and the Smoke is special unto itself. we do covers and we have our own certain kind of way of doing them. So rooted in doo-wop, lots of singing. And kind of a large part of it was three guys making a lot more guys' noise. Lots of singing at one time. That really fills things out. And so we were kind of getting away with kind of cheap guitar, really good drums and bass, and a kitschy kind of look. We had a thing going. So I think it kind of came to that we sort of want to stay the same, but we don't really want to be the same. So maybe we'll just be the Smoke now. And then we kind of operated on that level and put out the demo and got it on Bandcamp, and you can find it there. And one day at practice, my old guitar player from Little Guitar Army, Frank Chopper, was there. And he said, why don't you just call it Slowpoke in the Smoke? I mean, people know that band. You guys have a history. And I thought, fuck, he's absolutely right. Why are we trying to screw with it? Like, what's the big deal? So now we're playing original music, but we still dip back into that old bag. And, how much, that's really, to be seen in the future. But it's going to stick Slowpoke in the Smoke. And that's how it's going to be. So the cover's going to be slightly different. I made another stamp.
Okay.
Now,
Is that see? I didn't realize that that was a demo that was on Bandcamp, because I've heard a couple of demo versions of this in the past. Are you going to well, like, what's the plan for an official release? Are you going to do vinyl? Or are you going to have a, like, what do you do?
I'm in chats right now with Billy from Clampdown Records,
Ah, okay.
and he's going to put together. Let me get 100 copies of it,
Mhm.
and just see how that goes.
Okay, marvelous, marvelous.
You should have vinyl by mid-June. Oh,
Hey, well, marvelous, marvelous. But it will actually be different versions of the song still. It will not be the same demos on
it'll
vinyl.
be exactly as is on the Bandcamp.
Oh, it will. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Cool. 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 Um. So let's talk about a couple of the songs on it. Is it like I've had a fucked up 5 years, right? I've had lots of physical indignities, life-changing surgeries and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
I've been following this.
was that?
I've been following that.
Yeah. It's become entertaining to me to see the manifestations of this. There was something actually that happened at Green Auto. I don't know if you saw the Facebook post where it I was trying to show someone, look at my weird tongue, and they were trying to tell me that they were going to take a pee. And so it was like I was saying, pee in my mouth. No, no, that's
I
not
thought
what
that was pretty funny.
it was. It was mortifying at the
Was
time.
Bison, wasn't it?
Sorry, what?
That was when you were at Bison.
Yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
James of Bison was there. He wasn't actually. He did a reading, but Bison weren't all there. He was there, but yeah. So okay, bump my noggin, bit of blood. There's some indignities against you here, but I don't know how autobiographical they are. Did you smash up a truck? What happened? What?
There's a lot of truth in that song, but at the same time, there's the truth makes the fiction. If there's no Ruth, there's no Richard, as Robert Wyatt might have said.
Okay. Do you want to not go into specific images? Because I'm curious.
I don't want to tell you because it's more insane than the actual song. I mean, but really, I fainted. On the way down, I thought, fuck, this is it. And I hit my head on a coffee table so hard that I blacked out for some time. And then I got up and everybody looked pretty concerned. And I was kind of spinning, seeing birds and stuff.
Mhm.
And after I felt like I kind of had my bearings, I split the party.
Mm,
And I walked out the front door, and there was my truck parked across the street,
mm.
except it was no longer where I had left it. It was up on the sidewalk, and someone had smashed into the driver's side front quarter panel so hard that they'd knocked it up onto the sidewalk. So here was my truck smashed up, undrivable, up on the sidewalk. I totally forgot about that I was on my way to drive the truck to the hospital.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So after that, I forgot that I bumped my head, and I just, dealt with getting the truck dealt with and eventually got home.
Mm,
So, it was some time before I realized that I had hit my head. I think it was when my friends told me.
mm.
And I realized also that it hadn't been the same since, that something had changed. Not necessarily in a bad way, but I think I had become softer, more easier to get along with. And and it really hasn't changed, I don't think, but I do eventually, about 6 months later, they said my head was fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where did you hit? What part of your head was affected?
Right temple.
Right temple. Okay. All right. I mean, brain injuries are serious things. I've had friends who hit their head, and one of them actually, no, I won't tell the whole story here, but I know someone who ended up murdering someone else, and it's a very long story. I'll tell you sometime, but it stemmed from a frontal lobe injury up here. He had something hit him on the head during work, and he began having his brain started to atrophy in that area. And he actually went on a kind of like he began having paranoid delusions and just a horrible, horrible story. So I mean, obviously you're okay, but
It's lucky. I'm lucky. And I watch those shows sometimes where the people redevelop somebody's house and then they get the owners to smash everything up inside.
uh,
There they'll be with eye protection, a huge sledgehammer taking out a brick wall,
mm.
but no helmet. That's a brick wall. It's flying all over the place and no helmet.
Oh God, Tony, I'm sorry. When did that happen? How long ago was that?
2009.
2009. So it's a
Really
long
long.
time. Wow. Okay. I mean, there's other things in there. Uh,
Then it becomes a little bit less factual, perhaps. It becomes a story of what do you call when groups of people set upon you. Speaking of conspiracy theories,
right. There's a bit of
so
paranoia.
there the character is now set upon it, and various horrible things happen. The TV gets broken, the money is gone. It's like it's a normal story. It's the hapless blues story told 1,000 times.
Right. Little
So
hits
that theme
started.
goes into other songs as well. Those characters, those them, they
Uh,
might appear, perhaps like in Doll, for instance, you know, they're definitely peering around the corner.
okay. All right. So, all right, it's playful. That makes sense. But the image, see inside the human body. I mean, that to me is a very potent image. I love that. The idea of like this is a very vulnerable package, and people take it for granted. And
I stole that from a science toy box.
okay, like the Visible Man or something.
See inside a human body. I thought, fuck, that's better than untouched by human hands.
Okay, all right. What about Bit of Blood? What about Bit of Blood? Is there
More metaphorical.
sorry?
That's more metaphorical.
Okay.
In bit of blood being as like a friend.
Okay. There's something some of it I go to psychedelics with that song. Like I feel my face dissolving. That's kind of, and then I'm not sure if I'm hearing the lyric right. But a hole without a god is a dog that looks like me. Am I hearing that right?
The Holy Lamb of God.
Oh, the Holy Lamb of God. All right. I've seen too many Ingmar Bergman movies. Like,
Well, don't worry, I don't feel bad. Like, really, have you ever tried to understand the Rolling Stones lyrics?
right. Actually, Art got me reading Midnight Rambler at Keithmas. He kind of subverted that song in his performance. So I was rereading it like, holy shit, this is evil. This is vile.
I try hard to enunciate and not too much, not put too much false color on what I'm saying or singing.
It's still it's my hearing probably. But the second part I have right is a dog that looks like me.
Yes.
I actually like that more, but it, it is like this is not a psychedelic experience. That's not.
No, I'd have to say that's pretty much real life. If I were to, I used to talk, for instance, in Tinfoil Hat about switching bodies with the cat.
Hmm,
This is, probably a feature of my relationship with the dog as well.
hmm.
And so, I could easily see myself in the dog or a dog that looks like me. And the Holy Lamb of God could easily be the innocent dog.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, Another lyric. That I tried a couple of times, and I was using my computer, so that might also be a factor. I couldn't figure out if you were singing that the news is a monster, which is very topical, or the muse is a monster.
Yeah, the muse, second.
The muse is a monster. Where does that come from? What does that mean?
It's like the thing that drives you can also easily be the thing that deprives you.
Well said. Well said. Well said. I don't actually have part of my wanting to do this for as a YouTube interview was that I don't have a lot of time to transcribe stuff, so I don't want to spend a whole lot more about this. But I do want to ask about Art Bergman and Los Popularos, um, which may not appear in what I do right away, but um, Art actually had. I was in Art's apartment. It's one of the things I have to do this next couple of weeks is transcribe an Art Bergman thing, and he had the smoke on CD. He had the first offense on CD, which I don't think anyone has physical copies of that. You must have given that to him personally, or
Yeah, I did. I must have given it to him at the rickshaw.
okay.
We played the Rolling Stones Day there. The
Right,
key,
right. Yeah. You were there. Yeah.
probably gave it to him then.
Okay. I mentioned in the email, like this is about me trying to work a Tony Bardach story into my Art Bergman story to get some cross promotion. Do you have a good, fun Art Bergman story?
Hmm. I know you asked me about this,
Hmm.
and I thought, gosh, well, I guess there are a few,
Hmm.
but we went through some crazy times and did a lot of really lo-fi tours. And for instance, one night when we finally arrived in Toronto, we had to sleep in the front seat of the car. Art and I slept in the front seat of the station wagon, and and Bill and Gord all slept in the back seat of the station wagon. And I think Fred Hollis may have been along. as well. I think there might have been four in the back and us two in the front. So we kind of had the better of the deal on the front seat. And I got the part underneath the steering wheel, of course.
This would have been the tour that John Armstrong elected not to go on, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. This was a later tour all the way out to Toronto. And we stayed there for a couple of weeks, made friends, actual friends that worked in places like bookstores and things. And, yeah.
Art and I talk about it a bit. Okay.
We only stayed in the car a couple of days, I think, at most. Somebody gave us a bottle of rum as well. So that was our introduction to Toronto. We pretty quickly lost that car due to smog. And because of the rules, we weren't allowed to sell it in Ontario. And we weren't allowed to fix it because it wasn't licensed in Ontario.
Like I'm gonna say because of smog, like there were emissions problems with the car.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 69 Vista Cruiser. Really nice car. And so, of course, it was blowing a lot of smoke. They pulled us over. We never got out of there. We never saw that car again. Ended up with the blue tin box, which was a 75 or something like that, Impala station wagon.
Okay. So that's what you came back in?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. 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 All right. Yeah,
It's
that's
out in Drumheller, and we were driving along at 4 in the morning with a flashlight. Heading for Calgary. Zippy decided he had enough of that, got out, hitchhiked.
I think I could use this story, Tony. This is good. This is great. Yeah, I think John made the right decision not to go on that tour. Maybe there was wisdom in that. That sounds like a bit of an ordeal. But were spirits high? Were you in? Were you?
Relatively, I mean, I was driving, so I was happy. And I was being helped, with the flashlight. And that was the plan. We're reasonably confident. But if you were in the back seat, it was probably a different story.
Oh, yeah, I bet, I bet. I wanted to ask actually, probably I'll put this back, but going back to Bump My Noggin, I don't, I'm I'm not a musician at all, so I don't recognize what's going on. I'm just curious. There's a marvelous drum, and when they're talking about the church and the steeple and what that boom, boom, boom. Is that Barry and is that a tom tom? What is that he's hitting?
That's Brad Lambert.
Oh, it
And
is
he's hitting a rack tom.
a rack tom. Okay.
I think he just there was just a hole in the song. So he just did that. And the producer, the engineer, said, just do that every time. That's perfect.
it's
I loved it. I thought, okay, yeah, that's exactly what we want. Boom, boom, boom. Something really, you know, cavemanish.
it's a lovely sonic detail. I love it. And tell me about let's talk about Eric and Brad. What's your history with them? Where did this will be the last question? This is all really I can handle. But what did you do with them? Where did you meet them? Where were they? They were both in the original Slowpoke in the Smoke.
Yes, both of them. Together we started the group.
Mhm.
And I had needed to be in a group. And so I was at a bar, the Balmoral, where Ray Kondo was going to play that night. And I asked a friend, Jill, if she knew who I could be in a band with. I said something like, hey, I need a band. Who should I get? And she just immediately pointed at Brad and Eric, who were standing over by the pool table about 50 yards away. No, not 50 feet, maybe. And I said, okay, great, thanks. I didn't know them. I knew of Brad being the drummer of the Sarcastic Mannequins. but beyond that, and I didn't know Eric. So I just introduced myself. And I mean, they kind of looked kind of not, I don't know, kind of slovenly. But anyway, we became friends pretty quickly. They agreed to do it. And pretty quickly we found Frank Zappa as a common ground, just sort of for jamming some stuff. And it just evolved out of that.
Okay. All right. What was Eric playing at that time? I don't know his whole.
Bass.
But no, what was he? What band are the bands? Like he was. They've both been around for quite a while, I think.
I don't think either of them were in a band at that time specifically.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Maybe Brad might have been playing with the Mackenzies a bit.
okay. All right. Totally. I have enough, but do you have a song you want to tell a story about? Is there something I really didn't? I prepared to talk about like the three songs we talked about. Is there something else you wanted to go into detail about, or a good story?
Actually, I'd have to say no, because we've got pretty detailed here.
Hmm.
And I've been honest about where things are at. And throughout all of the songs, there are various concurrent themes. And so it might even be a very loosely written screenplay. And so there's an element of discovery. And I certainly don't want to give it all away at this point. But from understanding some of the things that we've talked about, that might give you uh, a more specific idea about what's going on in other places. And I hadn't necessarily wanted that because that's sort of forcing the issue a bit. Now you know something and you're going to be able to read that. But I love the idea of making your own out of what there is.
Hmm.
That's almost more important to me than having my say.
Okay. I maybe I will put that at the start of the interview and tell people that they have the option of not reading or something.
Maybe, see how you feel about it. That'd be your take. I don't mind that we've given away a little bit. Maybe it's a trailer. You got to learn something about the movie.
Good, good. Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Tony. This was wonderful. I appreciate it. And I'll try to put something up very, very soon before the Selena Martin gig. Obviously, that's the point. So I will see you at the Selena Martin show.
Okay, thank you for putting that together. Like really, you have orchestrated it, and I'm going to bring some really weird looking clip lights.
Okay,
We
great.
might be able to set them up as like footlights or something. And
Fabulous.
the Salvation Army, and we have hundreds of light bulbs. So I'll choose some really interesting ones.
Okay. Marvelous. Marvelous. That will be great. All right, Tony, we'll see you there.
Here we go. Take care, all. Have a nice day.